I want to talk about something a little important today, and that's taking risk. I'm going to be referencing the great Jordan Peterson. He's a clinical psychologist and he's a professor of psychology at the University of Toronto. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm going to be talking about his video. It's a compilation of his videos. I'll leave a link down in the description from the video I took it from. But I know it's titled in YouTube under, but I know it's under the title on, if you look it up on YouTube, it's under Advice for Young Men Part 2. So in the video, Jordan got into the topic of taking risks in life and how important it is to take risk. And he said it like this. So in life, you have path A, which is full of tragedy and catastrophe and obstacles, and then you have path B, which is also full of catastrophes and tragedy and obstacles, and you don't get to pick the non-catastrophe path. So when you look at it this way, there is actually a lot of room left for some risk. You can afford to take some risks because no matter what you do, you're going to be facing, like I said, all these obstacles and tragedies are going to come up in your way as you're moving through life. So you can afford to take some risk. There are going to be consequences you're going to have to face once you make the decision that you're going to go out and take some risk. Of course, there's always the chance that you go and take some risk and it blows up in your face and then you have to deal with that. There's always there's also always the possibility, the potential that it's going to really have a major payoff for you and it will like drastically improve your life. And I don't care which path you take. You can take the most conservative, cautious, safe, secure path you want. You're still going to face all the catastrophe and tragedies and obstacles, so you might as well take some risk. He goes on later in the video to talk about how important it is to contemplate your mortality. And what that basically means is to remind yourself, like to make it a conscious reminder, maybe throughout your days, to stop and remind yourself that you're going to die someday. And that's kind of a morbid thought, and it's very freeing actually, but more than that, it's very motivating. And you can come to think, well, okay, so there's a cute girl over there on the other side of the road that you want to talk to. Maybe you've seen her before, but you never had the guts to go and talk to her. And in that split second, as that self-doubt starts to creep into your head and it starts to tell you like, oh, she's way out of my league, or, I'm not brave enough to go and talk to her, or I'm a loser, I'm not attractive enough, she's gonna reject me like immediately. But then you could stop and consciously remind yourself that I'm going to die someday. So it doesn't really matter what she says. So you can walk up to her and ask her, and maybe you can say, what's the worst that could happen? Maybe the worst that realistically happens is you walk up and you ask her, you tell her like, hey, I think you're really cute. If you want to go out sometime, can I get your number? And she like slaps you across the face. So realistically, that's probably the worst thing that could happen to you. Like she slaps you in the face and walks off, and maybe there's like a group of people standing behind this start like pointing and laughing at you, Probably not gonna happen, but let's say it does. The embarrassment of the whole thing's probably gonna sting a little more. It's probably gonna be more painful than the actual slap across the face. But you took a risk and you dealt with the consequences. Now, the other side of that spectrum could be the huge payoff, the way that it drastically improves your life. So you go up and you talk to her and you guys hit it off and she gives you her number and you guys go out on a date. Boom. Always going to be consequences with risks. You never know what's going to happen, but you do know when you look at the paths that you can take in life, your only options, path A and path B, are going to be almost identical. And like I said, it doesn't matter how conservative or safe of a path you choose. You're still going to deal with the catastrophe and the tragedy and the obstacles. So you might as well incorporate some risk into that path and give some variety and some life into it instead of just constantly suffering all the time. Maybe you can take some risks and put it all out on the line, and maybe, like just maybe, that'll improve your life drastically. But you never know if you don't take the risk. And I think what's very important is to contemplate your mortality, like Jordan Peterson said. It's to make yourself realize, I've only got one shot at this. I'm all in. And it's not even your choice. Like from the second you're born, you're all in. So why not go all out? Why not go all out? Why not go and talk to that cute girl? or that cute guy? Or why not make that phone call to that friend you haven't talked to in years, or to your mom or your dad that maybe you fought with and you guys have had a grudge with each other for like 20 years, you know, and it's just been silence between you guys? Why not go up to your boss and ask for that raise or that promotion that you really want? Or if you think you're ready for it, why not go up and make that move to quit the job that you hate? Because you can think, I only have one life, and this one life does not last forever. So I might as well take some risk. The risk is going to be scary. The risk is going to have consequences. You're not going to like all the consequences. That's why they call them consequences. But I can assure you that it's much better to take a risk and then deal with the consequences and the obstacles that come up from that risk than having regret. I know personally that I can take a lot to the grave. I can take disappointment. I can take failures, I can take embarrassments to the grave with me. You know, when I'm on my deathbed, I can think about the things that didn't go right, the things that I tried and made attempts at and failed like miserably. It just blew up in my face. Or the times when I tried something, when I spoke up and I raised my hand or asked that question, and it was like a stupid question, you know, and completely embarrassed myself in front of like hundreds of people, you know. I can deal with that. I'm strong enough to deal with that. But I'm not strong enough to deal with taking regret to the grave. It's not something I can live with. And that's not something that I think you should live with either. I don't think anyone's strong enough to deal with regret. That's got to be the last thing. That should be your general like overall goal in life, is to not take any regret, or just take as the least amount of regret that you can when you go to the grave. I think that's the best goal. Take the least amount of regret that you possibly can to the grave with you. Contemplate your mortality. Think about the paths in your life that you have to take, how both are riddled with catastrophes and tragedies and obstacles, and how important it is to incorporate a little bit of risk in your life. Because at the end of the day, remind yourself that one day we're all going to die. What matters is what you do with the time you have.